Hey, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Hardin. Happy Tuesday, February 17th. We got a evening podcast here. Got a great guest waiting in the wings. I'm excited for her to share her story and her why and all those things. But before we get started, you know what to do. Hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Hardin. Glad to be back with a new and exciting episode. And we're back at it again. A great guest and new week. But before we get started, you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, wherever you consume podcasts. The Real Deal is there. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on Spreaker, BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com. That is the network that I'm on, BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network, Roku channel. You can download the app on a Roku channel. We're there. iHeartRadio, like I said, wherever you consume podcasts, we are there. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms that Get the Real Deal on all socials. And whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky and TikTok, and Courtney Hardin with the Real Deal. So, all right, well, let me bring in my guest here. We connected on Instagram and the algorithm, and with Instagram, we network and follow each other and everything too. So we've been chatting with her over the last few weeks, and we just was getting this set up. So I'm very, very excited to have her on. She is a bowler, NCAA Division I head coach for Prairie View A&M Bowling as well. She also says she's an R&B, 90s R&B lover, which I am too. So we're going to get into that. Baseball fan as well. So I want to welcome to the show, Tiffany Clark. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing tonight? Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it.
I'm doing good. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for again taking the time. And as I said, we're gonna have this conversation about you, and we're gonna have a seamless conversation. I'm excited to get to know you and for you to share your story. That's what this podcast is all about. It's the real deal, and you share your real deal story. So that's what it's about.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's get started. First question I always ask my first time guest is, who is Tiffany Clark, and how did you get to where you are today?
Oh man. Well, I am obviously an enthusiast of the sport of bowling. I am originally from a small town, Joliet, Illinois, about 45 minutes from Chicago.
Okay.
I've been bowling since I was 6. I learned the sport of bowling by watching my dad bowl in a league and just mimicking, watching what he was doing. I never bowled with bumpers. It was just went in right in and I came natural. It just really came natural to me. Before I got here, I was in Huntsville, Alabama as an insurance agent, and I got a phone call one day. This opportunity to take over the Prairie View A&M Women's Bowling Program presented itself to me, and that's how I got here.
Okay, all right. So you said bowling since you was young,
Mm-hmm.
stayed in you, it's ingrained in you, and
Mm-hmm.
you say watch your dad in bowling leagues and things like that. That's where the love came from. So as you could continue on with your career and your love of bowling, how does that that preparation, and as you said, your purpose, you mentioned that, how does that all come into where you are today, from when you were young to where you are today?
So I bowled in high school. I also bowled in college at Alabama A&M. So I am a product of HBCU, sports, the product of, the SWAC conference. So I had mentioned again that I was, working as an insurance agent in Huntsville, Alabama, and I had been living in Huntsville since I was 17 when I, went down there for school. And once, I graduated and everything, I just always stayed down there. I didn't have any
Mm.
desire to move back home. All of my family is still there, so I love the fact that I get to go home when I want, or holidays, things like that. But I always just had this like independent mentality, attitude, whatever you want to call it. I'm an only child. So yeah, so I was just like, I want to be here in Alabama. I got to make it work. But I've always been involved in bowling. I did a couple of the tour stops on the PWBA women's tour. So it's a professional women's bowling association. I have tried out for Team USA a few times. So I've played on every level.
Right.
But how I got here, actually, this was literally a faith move. Um, I remember doing a fast with one of my friends back in February of 2023. We did a 30-day social media fast. And before we started the fast, I just remember being very purposeful on, what I prayed for. Because again, I've been in Huntsville since I was 17. So
Yeah.
I just remember I was just like, all right, God, like I am not content here, anymore. I feel like whatever my purpose is, whatever my next is, if I'm supposed to move, I am ready. And literally a week into our fast is when the former coach, Glenn White, gave me a phone call. And before he even said hello, the
Mhm.
first thing that he asked me was, would I consider, being in college athletics again? And I asked him, I was like, Coach, are you asking me to move to Texas? And he's like, well, yeah. And a 45-minute conversation led for him to tell me that he was getting ready to retire. And he felt like if anybody could take over the program, take it to a new level, it would be me. And so he was like, don't say yes, don't say no. Come for a visit, check it out, and see for yourself. And here I am, 2.5 years later.
Wow, and that just goes. That just shows. Congratulations, first and foremost, and that just shows that you said having faith and
Mhm,
God leads you to a lot of different ways, a lot of different paths, and we
mhm,
kind of just, we might have a question about it, but it's like, okay, Lord, if this is where you want me, and this is where you
mhm,
lead me, my purpose to lead me to here, and that's
mhm,
where I'm going to be, and you listened, and I'm sure it was like you said, some questions in the background, but you're probably thinking okay, that's where it leads to be. And you fasted and you thought about it, you prayed about it, and
mhm.
here you are today, 2.5 years later, in here. So, but congrats on that as well. So
Right.
that's a big time. That's a big purpose to
Mhm.
the where it led you to where you are today. So I want to get back to what you said about trying out for Team USA. Talk about that experience of how that all came about.
Um, God, I think the first time I tried out was 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And it was just something for me. It was kind of like a gauge check to see where I stood as far as the other young women and professional women that were trying out because they have to try out all over
Yep.
again as well.
Mhm.
Just to see where I gauged as far as what I needed to work on as far as physical skill set, my mental skill set. And then I tried out again in 2019, just to see. And I actually did a lot better than what I thought I did.
Mm.
And it was one of those things where I can do this. The only thing that was separating me at that time from the other women, and same thing when I, did one of the professional tour stops is, these women, this is their job. They do this 24/7, 365. They live, breathe, eat, bowling all day versus somebody like myself, I was working a full-time job, so
Yeah.
I didn't have the accessibility like they did and whatnot. So yeah, but I definitely have every intention of trying out for Team USA in 2027. So I will
Okay.
be back out there.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll be pulling for you for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I know you said if when you share a lot of those things, and again, that's part of your journey, part of your story.
Mhm,
You want
mhm,
to, as you said, you try it out, and that's at the highest level. And
mhm.
you said you want to see where you were with the skill and everything else that comes along with it. We're gonna get into like the mental part of bowling and things like that too. But that's just as you said, you have experience because you've competed in bowl at the highest levels at in every level that you can, as you can say, and coaching too. So my question would be, what would you say is your coaching style? How would you define your coaching style?
You know what? If I could be perfectly honest, I am still trying to develop that. I'm
Okay.
this
Yeah.
year is all the real deal, so I'm going to
Yeah.
be very raw and transparent. Last year I called it my first year of single parenting.
Yeah.
I was just having fun with it. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
this was an opportunity of a lifetime, and again, I get to be in my calling and doing what I love to do, and I'm surrounded by it 24/7. So I didn't put any expectation, no pressure on myself. I just went out there and I just poured in my knowledge, my love for the game into my athletes that I had, last year. Second year, I kind of had a little bit more of an expectation for myself and for this
Yeah.
program because we did win the conference championship. We made an NCAA, regional appearance. So a standard has been set, but prior to me coming here, Prairie View Women's Bowling has been one of the most successful bowling programs within the SWAC conference. So when we won last year, that made conference championship number 7 for the
Wow.
program.
Yeah.
They're they're known for their success,
Right.
and I remember coming here, literally within a few months. They won in 2023, and they had a ring ceremony. And I just remember that ring was so huge. I remember I just tried it on myself and I'm like, I am going to get one of those, right?
Hmm.
Write the vision, make it plain. Um, and so 2 years later, one in my first year. So now my mentality is okay, going into the 2026-2027 season. I am definitely right now just developing a game plan as far as the expectations that I have for myself as a head coach going into next season, taking away things that I could be better at, as far
Yeah.
as working, having more hands-on one-on-one time with my girls. I have an assistant coach now, so my expectation from my coach, and then what my expectations are for my players. So I am in the process right now of developing a whole entire new standard, because ultimately I want to bring a national championship to Prairie View. I will bring a national championship to
Yes,
Prairie View.
you're putting it
Yeah,
out there
yeah.
that, out and you're saying, hey, I'm motivated, and you're saying that you're going to bring a national championship. And
Mhm.
I see the background there, 2025 SWAC champions as well. And as you said, there's a standard, and you're saying, okay, you're developing, you're continuing on the process of becoming a successful coach. And now you said you have your standards with the
Mhm.
students and with your expectations, I should
Mhm.
say. And now it's all about, you said that it's just like you said, like bowling, it's like repetition. It's okay. This is my style. This is what I'm teaching, how I'm teaching, and how I'm coaching students as well. Talking about, I was just talking about bowling. It's often considered, tell me if I'm wrong or right. 90% mental. Would you say? Would that be
Yes.
about right? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah. So what techniques, like mentally, do you teach your students to handle that pressure, or for yourself too, and for yourself?
Yeah. So speaking from experience, so I actually had a conversation with one of my friends last night, because he is a mental games coach.
Mm,
So he does a lot, he's worked with our women's softball team. So told him, my aspiration of competing for Team USA next year. And that's one of my biggest hurdles is as an athlete is my mental game.
yeah.
I've never gotten to the point where I've just checked out and I've quit, but sometimes I can be very hard on myself. So if I miss an easy spare, I'm like, girl, like what are you doing? And it just sits with me for a couple of seconds, right?
Right.
And so taking that from experience and trying to apply that to my players and getting them to understand, like, listen, you've got to have a 1 second memory, let that frame go. We've got to move on to the next frame, because you still have, 5 frames left, 6 frames left, however many we have. But a lot of my girls have this mentality of wanting to be perfect, and not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but sometimes they put the entire weight of the team on their shoulders because they feel like, oh my gosh, if I mess up, then I'm not only letting the team down, I'm letting myself down.
Yeah.
Rather than, what I try to emphasize to them is be present in this moment. One of my players, I had a conversation with her just a few weeks ago, and I'm like, listen, you're going to be a junior next year. And I said, time goes by really fast. And how do you want your collegiate career and your academic career to end, at Prairie View? Do you want to look back and say, like, man, like, I enjoyed my time there, like I gave it everything that I had, or do you want to look back and be like, man, like, I wish, I didn't let, my mental game, get in the way for me enjoying it. Cause it's to me, it's a privilege to be a student athlete, a collegiate student athlete. Not everybody has this opportunity. So it's enjoy it, it goes by fast. So I try to practice, or preach to them what I practice for myself. And it's just let it go. Let it go.
It's like a short, like you said, it's like that short mental gain that you got to play, that you have. As you said, okay, you might have made a mistake. As you said, oh, I could have got that spare. And I should have got that spare. But as you said, you got to get next to the next frame, the next, next game, whatever it is, especially if it's a multi-game type of thing you have to do, and then you have to get to it and everything too. Just personally, I love bowling too. I love to bowl. I'm not real good at it, but I love to bowl. And every time I go, wife would go out with friends and things like that, I get competitive, but you said it's having fun too with it on top of that.
Yeah, because especially for our competitions. So we have our competitions are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? So we can start anywhere from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning, and we won't get done sometimes until 5 o'clock. And that's Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday is even earlier. So, and we bowl 5 games Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday is like a position round. It's best out of 4, best out of 7. And so again, to be mentally, just locked in, for 3 days, from anywhere to 6 to 8 hours, over the course of a weekend each day, that's a lot. And another thing that I'm having them start doing is, talking. We do have a sports psychologist that is on campus, and she does a lot of stuff offline or off campus too. So getting them, with the sports psychologist and talking through that and helping to build, that mental toughness.
Yeah, that's needed. The mental is because mental health is important, and it's talked about a lot, and especially in sports. And it's good that athletes, it's student athletes in general, and just in life, that how important that is. So that would be my next question. How important is that? To have that, talk about that when you have those struggles, mental health struggles, and things like that. How important is that to talk about it? And then you said athletes are hard on themselves too, as well, with games, and if they have bad games, if they have a bad bowling game or slump and things like that. But how important is that to talk about it, and sports psychologists and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely important because you have to take into consideration, you have for starters 17 to 21, 22-year-olds, right?
Right.
And so they're navigating now, this next phase where they're out of their parents' home, so they can't rely on their parents anymore, because the minute you get on a college campus, you are treated as an adult, right? So you have to juggle your classes and, making sure you fulfill your study hours that are required within the athletic department, making sure that you maintain your grades, aside from strength and conditioning, aside from practice, competition. while still trying to maintain, not only a personal life, but to also make sure that, hey, if I've got chores that I need to do, I got to wash my laundry and do this, that. It's all of these factors,
Yep.
and that can be overwhelming for somebody that's, come from, living with their parents to now I'm out on my own, and again, it's trying to relate that to them. Like, I have been where you are now. I'm looking at now my 17, 18-year-old self. So I get it, and things are a lot different now. I feel like our student athletes have more resources available to them now than, back when I was, a student athlete, because how much I would have loved to have talked to somebody. I'd
Yeah.
probably be talking like every day, of the week,
Right, right.
if I could. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is a lot, and for myself as a coach too, because I treat this my philosophy is I am pretty much the CEO of a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I put into it or what I don't put into it is what is gonna come out,
Yep.
from it.
Reflex. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And that's down to, again, my assistants, to down to my student athletes. So again, and there's so much behind the scenes as a coach that, nobody gets to see. I'm here, on the Zoom call, or, on this podcast with you, and it's just I have other things that once we get done that I need to do. We have a
Mhm.
tournament that we got to get ready for next weekend that I've got to get preparation for and things like that. So yeah, so I definitely feel like mental health is important for everybody. You just need a minute to just sit still,
Yes,
you know.
that's good advice.
Yeah.
That's a good advice in life in general.
Yes.
You just
Yeah.
need to sit still and just kind of be still,
Sit in
reflect,
silence.
sit in silence. Yes, sit in
Hmm.
silence for sure. And yeah, you
Hmm.
just need that and everything too. We got a comment here. Mom and I are proud of you.
Oh my God, my dad, he's so cute.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. Shout out to
Comments on
Dad.
everything on my social media.
We
My
appreciate
dad.
appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, thank you. Really appreciate it. Got any questions? Ask for sure. A couple more on the bowling, then we got to get into the R&B.
Okay.
We got to talk about that. Something fun. But what do you think is what are your favorite and least favorite thing when it comes to bowling?
My least favorite thing is not picking up stairs. Not picking
Yeah.
up the easy stairs. I mean,
Right,
especially they're
right,
not moving. It stays in the same spot.
right.
But my favorite thing is I just had league last night. I bowl league on Monday nights, but there is something about when you throw a good shot, when it comes off your hand and you feel it from the time it leaves but to the time it hits the lane and it starts rolling, it makes that traction with, going down the lane, and then it hits the pins and you feel it. There is something about that feeling that is just undescribable, that unless if you're a bowler, only you will understand it.
Right.
So that's probably my favorite thing about it. And probably my other thing is just the opportunities that it's presented itself, to me,
Yeah.
and the amazing people that I have met throughout
Mm.
my 31-year journey. I'm just telling my age now, but yeah, I've met some pretty amazing people.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure along the journey, you've met a lot of good people and amazing people, different people that have different games, and you said throughout your journey, just learning and
Hmm.
networking. I think
Hmm.
that's very important too. All right, last one on the bowling. I want to talk about the future of bowling. You kind of alluded to it a little bit about the access that student athletes have now. You
Hmm.
said with on the mental side too, especially you said if you were saying when you were 17, 18, and 19, you said I wish I would have had someone to talk to and things
Yeah.
like that. But talk about the future and the trend where bowling is going. Is there anything you would change about just the bowling in general?
Um, from the time that bowling officially became an NCAA sport, which was in 2004, to now, there are so many universities across the country that have women's bowling, and I love to see it.
Mhm.
I think that the one thing that I wouldn't say change, but I would love to see more of, is more representation
Mhm.
of us.
Yeah.
The amount of tournaments that I go to sometimes, and I only see a handful of minority young girls that are in these tournaments. And so I guess in saying that out loud, I think the one thing that I would like to see change, and even if I can help to start that movement, is investing more in our
Yeah.
young Black girls, or young girls of color that enjoy the sport, because you see sports like basketball, and softball, and soccer, that have these investments, but there needs to be more resources available to the youth when it
Mhm.
comes to bowling.
I love that. I love that. And just like you said, just seeing more representation
Mhm.
of these kind of people, minority of color into it as well. And I think you're setting a bar and a standard for it that they'll see someone like you, uh, that representation of that, a black woman bowling and coaching and the love of it. And I think that engagement will see that, because you might see a young kid and might think, you know what, I can do this too.
Mhm.
And I think that would be
Mhm.
great to, as you said, as you coaching and teaching and things like that, they'll see that and they'll fall in love with it too, because as you fell in love with it when you say when you're 6 years old.
Mhm. Yeah.
For sure. But I love to see that. I just love to see that. I love to see when young kids, especially black kids, young kids, boys and girls, being able to enjoy something that doesn't have a lot, but they're able to say, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to be the first, or I just want to be part of this as
Mhm.
well." And they continue to develop, and they'll see someone like you, as I said, to be able to lead that way. I think that's it's amazing to see, and it grows the sport as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I want to ask you this fun one. Well, first, you,
Uh-oh.
you said you're a baseball lover too. So talk about your love for baseball. How that all came about to your love of
Um.
baseball.
So so funny thing is, softball was the first sport that I learned to
Softball.
play.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I played it in high school. But my God, like I, I could watch it on TV, or I could be at the
Mhm.
game, and I just enjoy being in that atmosphere. I had went to actually Prairie View men's baseball, had a game today. Shout out to Coach Doolin. They got the
All
win
right.
today against Texas
Yeah.
A&M Victoria.
Mm.
But yeah, I love the game. Softball, of course, is always going to have my heart, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I love baseball.
All right. All right. That's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah. I like baseball too. And yeah, and just enjoy it. And enjoyed it. You said playing growing up. Still like to watch it on occasions. Not my favorite sport, but I do. I mean, I watch it.
Who's your
I watch
team?
it.
You have a favorite team?
You know, I was because I'm born and raised in upstate New York, so I was a Yankee fan for all
Okay.
that time and everything
Uh-huh.
too. I don't follow it like I used to
Uh-huh.
as well, but I mean, I follow it when because I'm with the podcast. I still keep an eye on everything and
Yeah.
follow and everything. So who's your team? Was it the because he's from Chicago, outside of
I,
Chicago? Is it
I am a Cubs fan. I
okay?
am a
Okay.
diehard
Mhm.
Cubs fan. But as far as baseball player, my favorite player is Mookie Betts.
Ooh, okay. All right. All
Yes.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Do I have a favorite baseball player now? I mean, I like watching Aaron Judge, Shohei
Okay.
Ohtani.
Okay.
I do like watching those guys. I don't really have a favorite baseball player. My favorite player of all time is Ken Griffey Jr. That was my guy. I mean, it was I did do Bonds, but it
The
was always good.
kid.
The kid, yes, the backwards hat, the kid, sweet swing, all that. Yeah, Ken Griffey was
Yeah.
my favorite baseball player of all time. And him and Derek Jeter were my two favorites of all time. So yeah, those will be my two favorites. Of
You
all
know,
time.
funny thing about Derek Jeter, so I never used to like him as a player, just again because
Mm.
I'm a Cubs fan.
Yeah, yeah.
But it actually wasn't until I watched his documentary.
Oh yes, yep. Hmm.
I just think he's just an amazing person now. He's
Yeah,
just one of
yeah.
the greatest human beings on this earth. I'm
Right,
like, all
right.
right, you know what? He's all right with me.
He's all right now. Yes, he was a Yankee guy, yeah, but
Yeah, yeah,
now
yeah. I can
since he
put that
retired,
aside.
yeah,
We're
he's
good.
retired and stuff. Now he's good. He said no,
Yeah,
that docu series was really good. I
yeah.
watched that too. It was like kind of like because it was the same as the Chicago Bulls Last Dance with Michael
Hmm.
Jordan and them. That whole thing,
Hmm.
yeah, that was great. it was
Yeah.
good to get the behind the scenes. So, all right, last one. We got to talk a little '90s R&B. Saw
Okay.
that on your bio and
Yeah.
everything too. So, uh, just the love of R&B music and things like that. Who are some of your favorite artists from the '90s?
Oh my God.
No, it's a
So
hard question.
it is.
Yeah.
I actually went to go see Babyface
Ooh, okay.
not
Yeah.
too long ago,
Hmm.
and oh, when I tell you he was playing everything from Bobby Brown to Karen
Mm.
White, Superwoman to Tony Braxton, like I don't have a specific artist. I just think I wish 90s R&B would just come
Oh,
back. And
yeah.
I actually posted on my social media story not too long ago. Like they don't even do interludes anymore.
No, they don't. Nope.
It's like the
Mm-mm.
music 90s music, like you felt it, it's
Yep.
when I was going through a heartbreak, like I would play Boyz II Men doing just fine or Mary J. Blige,
Yep.
like those
Yep.
got me through sometimes. But yeah, I don't have a specific artist, 90s R&B artist. It was just
Mhm.
that whole genre, just hands down, like
Yeah.
it was a movement, and it didn't matter what song came out, like you felt it. You
Yeah, you
felt it.
definitely felt it. It's interesting because me and my wife was just doing we do like our verses. We do sometimes we pick our own thing and remember verses when they used to have the artists go
Mhm.
against each other. And we kind of did a Valentine's Day. We did a we just did like love song. We just picked a love song. And it could be slow, it could be fast, whatever. And we were just there was just so many artists from Mariah Carey to Mary
Mhm.
J. Blige to Boyz II Men, Jodeci, and like all these. We were like, man, they don't make the music like this anymore
Oh,
from Monica to Brandy, and then they do some of my favorite artists growing up. And I missed the Monica and Brandy concert, and because they didn't, I don't think they came to, because I live in Philly now, so they didn't come to Philly, I don't believe, but they were in. They might have been. I can't remember, but we didn't get a chance to go. And those are two of my favorite artists of all time, Brandy and Monica. Never pick one over the other. There was times I
mhm.
say I like Monica better. There was times I like Brandy better, but I was like, I like them
Yeah.
both. I just like them both.
Yeah, both of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, both
Yeah,
of them.
yeah, yeah. I would have to say my favorite 90s R&B song is All I Do Is Think of You by Troop.
True.
But
Okay. Yeah.
what some people don't know is the original artist of that song was actually the Jackson 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I
But
remember that.
Troop,
Yeah.
hands down, that's
Hands
I
down.
can listen to that
Okay.
song
All right. Yeah.
all
Yeah.
day, every day.
Yeah, there was. I mean, there was so much. I mean, so much good music. You said it was a feeling. It was a movement. It was
Mhm.
from all the way through. I mean, you could say Michael Jackson, and
Yep.
I know he was '80s, but and into the '90s. Prince, '80s to the '90s, and everything. But I mean, but if you say just '90s R&B, you said Mary J. Blige, Mariah. You said Boyz II Men. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Ace,
They,
you
yeah,
got
yeah. And you said
oh
you talk about Babyface and the music the music he wrote, the music he produced, his own music. I mean, the artist that he was part of, like you said, Tony Braxton, and he
he's
did,
a genius. He is
yeah,
a
yeah,
musical genius.
musical
It doesn't make no
genius,
sense. It doesn't
right?
make any sense.
I mean, he was behind the scenes with a lot of R&B music, for sure. Him, Teddy Riley,
Yep.
like they
Jimmy Jam, Terry
James
Lewis.
A.
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
with Janet Jackson, and yes, the list goes on. It's hard
Yep.
to kind of say this. You could go from each year and pick artists from
Yep. Yep.
every single
Yep.
artist. It's so much.
Yeah.
It's good.
And one other fun fact. My favorite album in the 90s to listen to from start to finish, Waiting to Exhale,
Louis L.
which
Content.
happens
Okay.
to be produced by
My baby
Babyface.
face. Yes, yes. He
So I
produced
guess
that.
maybe that is my favorite artist.
Babyface has got to be your favorite artist. It has to be. You're right. The Way to Exhale. Yes, he did all that. Oh my goodness, that
And
was
the fact
so
that he
good.
did that, and that was a movie for women, the soundtrack was for women, and the fact
Yep.
that a man
Hmm.
produced the whole entire album
Yeah.
is just
Yeah. Yep.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
mind blowing.
And he produced, I think, majority, if not all, of the Soul Food soundtrack as well.
Yes,
You know.
yes.
So
Mhm.
again, another. I mean, his catalog. I remember one time. I think it was like this was a long time ago. It was they said all the artists he worked with or he produced and everything. It was like 100 songs, and it's more than that. But it was his top 100 songs. I was like, this is
Yeah,
all Babyface. Like
yeah,
he was the '90s. He was the
yeah,
'90s and early 2000s. It was just
yeah,
him, and he's still putting out music. So,
yeah.
I mean, Tony Braxton's first part of her career was with him.
Yeah.
So LaFace Records. So yeah,
Yeah.
so much good music, and I was a big hip hop '90s. Also, it was just good music growing up.
You just
So
had to be there. You had to be there. If
yeah,
you
to be
weren't there,
fair,
then
you
you
guys,
just don't
if you're listening
understand.
in, if you guys weren't there, I'm sorry. Go back and listen. Go back and listen to all that because there's just so many.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, you play from
And, and
SWV.
especially nowadays, like, if you go on Instagram or you go on TikTok and it's like,
Mhm.
they've used the old school, instrumentals and applied
Yeah,
it to now the new school,
yeah.
and you're thinking that you're hearing the original version and you're like, oh no,
Nope,
this
something new. Yeah,
is not it.
yeah. It's not what it used to be. The SWVs, the Escapes, the TLC. Oh my, I can go on and on.
Oh, Escape. I love Escape. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I can go
Yes.
on and on.
Yes.
And a lot of these artists too are touring. They're coming back.
Mhm.
I think there's
Mhm.
a tour coming up. I think it's True Hill, Montel Jordan.
You
There's
got you
some,
got you and Boyz II Men and Tony Braxton that are on tour
yep,
right
they
now.
got that one. Yep, New Edition, Tony Braxton. Yep, and Boyz II
Yeah.
Men. Yeah, so they're all coming. Escape and SWV just did a tour 2 years
Yep.
ago or last year. So
Yep.
yeah, they're all
They're
coming
making a
back.
comeback. Because
Yeah,
we need that. We need to
yeah,
feel that. I don't know what this other music,
yeah.
this R&B music is, but
We need
we
to
need
feel
to
that
feel those
R&B. Yeah,
emotions again.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The Mary J. Blige, she got residency in Vegas. That's
Yes.
coming up. I know Mariah
Yes.
had one. So it's
Yes.
been yeah.
Joe and Keith Sweater are actually coming
Oh
on a
yeah, I saw that too.
together.
I did see
Hmm.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, so much good music. Oh my goodness. We could have
When
had a whole.
I get off of this, when I get off of this podcast, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn my
Yes,
music
yes, yes. We could have did a whole podcast just on R&B music, 90s
Yeah,
R&B
go
music.
song for song.
Yes, oversaw for sure, for sure. But Tiffany, it's been a pleasure talking with you and
Yes.
chatting with you. And before
Same.
we let you go, any final words? Any last words you want to say to the audience, or they can follow you, all those things.
Yeah, you can follow our Instagram page for women's bowling. You can follow it at PVAMU bowling. You can follow my Instagram page. It's a long one. It's MS, so it's Miss underscore ESPN underscore the number two U. That's where you can follow me at Instagram. But no, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity. To share my story, to share this journey that I have. Because one thing that I did say before I was hired on at Prairie View is I wanted to continue to push this movement forward for women's
Mhm.
bowling, not only on a collegiate level, but for HBCUs. So, to be able to use your platform to, again, showcase our program, it means a lot. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you doing this. Appreciate you sharing your story. Continuous success, blessings, pushing
Thank you.
forward. You said pushing that movement forward, and I'm very excited to see your journey and see where it goes. And hopefully, we can do this again at a
Yes.
soon as well. So you're part of the podcast family now. So you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so
You're welcome
much.
into the Real Deal podcast. Family. So I really appreciate the
Thank you.
time.
I
I,
appreciate you so
all
much,
right.
Courtney.
All right. Well, thank you and enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll talk soon.
Same to you.
All right.
Thank
You have
you.
a good one.
You too.